Hello everyone, I'm Jonathan Little for PokerNews.com, and today we have a short but fun hand from a $1,500 buy-in World Series of Poker event that sent me to the rail. It's no fun to go broke, but, you know, when you play a tournament, almost everyone goes broke at some point. So here I raised a $1,400 with ace-2 suited off of a 31 big blind stack. This is perfectly fine. I think a lot of people play way too tightly from the early positions. Now, to be fair, a lot of people play way too loosely as well, but it's fine to open up ace-2 suited from early position some portion of the time, especially if you know you're not going to be getting 3-bet all that often. Like right here, also notice we had a relatively shallow stack player. If he shoves, it's fine. We can just call due to pot odds. If you do think you're going to get re-raised a lot, though, you should just fold pre-flop. You don't have to raise the suited aces, but these are nice hands to start adding into your range because they'll randomly flop low trips, which people never suspect. And then also they'll flop a backdoor flush draw and then turn a flush draw, which they can then continue betting with. Or you flop top pair, which is a good marginal made hand. They're pretty decent. Don't start raising like 9-5 suited from early position, then you're just lighting money on fire. All right, here I raise cutoff, small blind, and big blind call. Flop comes 9-5-2. So now the question is, should I bet or check? So there's 6,000 in the pot. I have 18,000 left. I could go either way here. I think checking or betting is fine. If I bet, I want to, again, be sure that I'm not going to get raised too often. Because if I bet here and get raised, I usually need to fold, which is not great. Because I have a lot of equity. So I'm fine with checking, but I also think betting a relatively small to medium amount with my whole range is pretty nice. So I bet 3,000 into 6,000. I think I could even go smaller, like 2,000. What I'm essentially saying with that bet size is that my range is very, very strong. And if my range is very strong, this essentially becomes one of my worst, quote-unquote, draws, right? It's not a great hand, but it is fine. And I do have some outs, even if I am behind, right? Because if I get an ace or a 2, I have the best hand. If I pick up a spade, I could get there on the river. If we get a 3 or a 4, we could get there on the river. So this is essentially being used as a draw. When I do bet here, if someone raises me, I'm just going to fold. So I do bet. Small blind calls, big blind folds, so that's fine. Turn is a 6 of spades, which is an interesting card because this should not help me very often at all. And it actually should help my opponent a decent amount because my opponent could very easily have 8-7 suited, 7-6 suited, which just made a pair, or 8-6 suited. Although probably not a whole lot of 8-6 suiteds. You may say these hands would always fold on the flop, but we can't count on that. If our opponent had 8-7 of diamonds, he's probably going to stick around. He may raise me on the flop, but he's probably going to call some portion of the time too. So we still lose to those. Also, we still lose to a 9, right? And a 9 is a very large chunk of our opponent's range to check, call the flop. He could also have overpairs. I guess he could also have hands like 8s or 7s or 6s, even though that's unlikely now. And so the question is, will those hands fold to a jam? Well, if you think back to my range, if I am betting the flop and jamming the turn, my value range is going to be overpairs and better, right? It's a pretty strong value range. And then some bluffs. So what are my bluffs? Well, spade draws make a lot of sense. If I happen to have a hand with an 8 or a 7, which I probably don't have many, right? Maybe I have none. Maybe I have 10-8 of spades. But again, that's just like a solid draw, right? That's a hand I could consider shoving. Would I jam 10-8 of diamonds? Probably not. So my draws are all pretty good, and my made hands are all pretty good. So in this spot, I think I can get away with jamming this, and I think we will have some fold equity. What you really don't want to happen is you don't want to let it go check, and then have the river come, and then your opponent check call your river bet with 8s or 7s or 7-6 or 9-8 or something like that. I think in this spot, if we just rip it in on the turn for a little bit more than pot, we actually do have a decent amount of fold equity. And like I said, I would also do this with my good hands too. So I think I do like a turn shove. I do like that it's a little bit more than the size of the pot. I like a lot about this spot. Now you may say, should we play this hand like a marginal made hand? And you typically want to view your hands as a marginal made hand when they have a decent amount of showdown value and when they could also call a bet on the river. So can this hand call a bet on the river? The answer is obviously not, right? Assuming I miss. So given I can't call a bet on the river, this is not actually that great of a marginal made hand. So I'm using it as a draw. Whenever you're thinking about developing a strong, balanced strategy, as we discuss over at pokercoaching.com, which is my training site, you can go there and get a completely free trial. if you do the homework challenges, you'll know that we want to break our hands down into premium made hands and draws, which we're betting, and then marginal made hands and junk, which we're checking. And the marginal made hands need to be able to call a bet on the next street. And this hand just is not good enough for that. So I like using it as a draw. Let's do it. We bluff all in, and we get called by pocket sixes. Not the hand we wanted to be against. If we were against 8s or 7s, I think we actually would have gotten the fold. If we're against 9-8, I don't know if we get the fold or not. 10-9 probably folds. I think whenever you take this line, betting into multiple people on the flop and then jamming turn, you are going to get more folds than you would think you're going to get. Because your range should be very strong, like I said. And even here, this was a great result for my opponent. And, well, to be fair, it's always going to be great when he turns the set, right? But say he did have a hand like pocket 8s and decided to hero call me, this is the best he can hope for. And even then, I'm still going to get there some portion of the time. So, yes, we lose, but you're not going to win every tournament you play, and you end up winning tournaments by actually getting in there and battling. If your goal is to play for 2 or 3 hours and then maybe double up or maybe go broke, you need to get that out of your mind. Your goal needs to be to get in there and fight hard and win the tournaments. And sure, you're going to go broke sometimes, but you're probably going to go broke. Well, you're going to go broke all the time, most of the time anyway. And playing aggressively and getting in there fighting will give you the best chance for success long term. So, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video for Poker News. If you did, click like, click subscribe, and I'll talk to you next week.